investing in some property in, I think it's the Bonar building in Churubusco. We had Frank Kessler here from Churubusco. We had to make sure that they were going to be able to help funding with this also. It's a provider of integrative health and preventive medicine solutions for the hospitals. And what they do is, what they were trying to do is, they're just starting up. It's a startup company. They're hoping to have 20 operations in the United States in 18 months. This gentleman is from Connecticut, and they're starting their first operation in, I think, around someplace in Connecticut.
Yeah, Waterbury.
Yeah, Waterbury. And the operation, actually, what they're going to do in Churubusco is they want their company headquarters actually in Churubusco. So what they're going to do there is they'll have their finance, marketing, program management, and all of their administration within this building in Churubusco. But they will also have satellite operations within the hospital campuses. And it's something that's brought on truly by Obamacare. I think they're taking advantage of the Obamacare. They do yoga, they do acupuncture. It's a wellness program. And not only do they do the wellness programs for people coming into the hospital, but for the hospital employees. It's very well thought out.
Yeah, so Bill Reese, the founder, he is a native Hoosier. He's been on the East Coast for, I think, 15, 20 years, and would like to come back to Indiana to establish the administrative office of this company. The actual clinics would be located in hospitals around the Midwest, around the country, and so the first facility in Connecticut is the first clinic. And so they work with a system like Lutheran or Parkview or others like those, St. Vincent's, IU Health, and locate the clinics within the hospitals, and essentially provide an outsourced, wellness center, preventive medicine center, to try to encourage people to pursue, I guess, outpatient, kind of non-invasive. I'm probably not using the right terminology, but lower cost therapies and remedies for procedures. I mean, acupuncture, something's come up, clinical massage, nutrition, smoking cessation, try to encourage better health behaviors. And that is part of the healthcare reform. Obamacare is trying to, I think, move some of the healthcare spending towards these preventative medicine approaches. And so Bill, he's interested in locating a facility in Indiana, the administrative facility. He's looking at a number of sites, looking for an indication that if it comes to Whitley County, we'd support it with a seated incentive. Again, like with Bill Smith, we do need to line up state level support before we'll have a final go ahead. We'll locate here, and we've got to negotiate and find the right building and get that building agreement, purchase agreement put together. So we've got some steps to go through, but I wanted to bring that to commissioners and council for consideration.
So he's not going to set up anything to pay back any.
Right.
There's no payback.
Well, we have an agreement in place that if you're left, he has to pay it back. And our investment board, one of the investment board members, Brian Moore from Micropulse, would like us to start putting in our agreements that if a business owner sells the company, is very successful, that Whitley County gets some of the funds back. But to date, what we've done is we've worked with the business owners and put together proposals of incentives where we can show that they'll be offset by future income tax revenue or property tax revenue, and we haven't asked for a repayment in many cases. I say going forward, we can certainly begin to go down that path, but we haven't to date. So our focus, like I say, focus for now has been putting together proposals that seem to make sense based on future revenues the county would receive, and taking those to our review committee to make sure that there's some kind of county level review. The project makes sense, it's feasible. We've talked to at least one of the health systems to make sure that the concept is sound and that the company is viable.
What's Cherubusco's commitment to this?
So far, their commitment is that they would provide a facade grant out of their seeded budget, and as well as a vacant building tax abatement. If they are able to locate in an empty building, they can waive the current property taxes for a year and a half. I think that there's, Commissioner Amber had some thoughts that we should look at additional ways for Cherubusco to be involved. And I think as we know more about the building that's selected and the project is going to move forward, we could go to Cherubusco and ask for additional help.
This building is in the downtown area?
Yes. And looking at a couple of buildings, so haven't made a final decision. And again, looking at a couple of locations in the state. Bill Reese is from Marion, so I think Marion's certainly pulling at its heartstrings, and he's hoping to move back from Connecticut, or he's in the Boston area. So
I got reservations on just giving out $100,000 without any payback.
well, it would be in 3 different phases, and so he'd have to show he's made progress in acquiring property, hiring people to be able to receive the incentive. It's something the county's done before, and we can certainly, like I say, begin to look at clawbacks that would see companies repay the money if they're successful. But it's something that it's made sense where with projects where a tax abatement on equipment or significant building purchases, isn't viable. It's not like a Steel Dynamics where they have $100 million of investment where the tax incentive makes as much of a difference for them.
So these 3 installments would be based on how much progress he's made
Exactly.
within that?
Yeah.
So the first installment would be made and no progress is made, the final 2 would be?
Exactly. And we've talked about, and we've done the same thing with Sailrite. When Sailrite moved to the old Kilgore building, they received, I think, $75,000 in 3 installments, and they had to show that they met their requirements to be able to then, request the incentive for that installment. And we would identify, we've developed an incentive agreement, and the county commissioners and council would be signatories to make sure that everybody agrees with the terms and how those mile markers are laid out.
Hey Alan, how many
Yes.
jobs will this create in Whitley County?
Looking at up to 55 for the headquarters facility by 2016, and I think those are an average of $28 an hour. So it's a decent employment generation. I mean, I think in Cherubusco that would put the company in number 2 or 3 as far as number of employees behind CNA Tool.
What's the success record on funds we've given out? I know one in South Whitley went defunct. Is that the only one,
Yeah.
or are there others?
That's really the only one, because since that specific project and that point in time, that was back in 2008, in 2009 we began taking all of our projects through the investment board, through the review committee, and putting together agreements and laying out mile markers that, if the county's going to provide incentive dollars, it's going to be in, let's say, 2 or 3 phases, and we want to see progress. That was probably the last project that, before we began to take all those different steps to provide some kind of security.
Will the second and third installments come back before us, or will it be through the investment board?
In the past, we haven't brought those back to council for specific approvals. We'd certainly, no problem reporting in as those come forward to make sure there's no red flags. And we haven't, I can't say that we've identified exactly what those mile markers would be yet, but I think it's, that's where, my job is to look out for the county's interests and try to make those, so it's not just a, here's a check and go to Vegas, as much as, here is something that's an incentive and encouragement to, make investments in buildings in our community and create jobs in the community.
I would like to see Alan, before you be willing to give him the second money that Busco has stepped up to the plate.
Sure.
And see what they're willing to offer or do for him.
Right.
Before we're willing to go that second phase of it.
We haven't seen Busco seeded plan, maybe they have something, I know how much they get monthly, if they have something for new businesses. Frank can say
But
something
just
to.
Keeps him,
involved.
yes.
Bill?
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we follow up with the investment board recommendations of $100,000, with the exception of the second and third installments, that put some restrictions on them to see how much progress has been made.
Yes. Okay, that's been moved in second. Questions or discussion?
The only issue I've got is, when I vote for these things with payback, those are borderline votes for me. I guess I'm one that feels like the county, or not just the county, but any government entity, should not be in the banking business. That should be left up to banks. So I've got some serious reservations about us providing $100,000, I guess, in cash like that over 3 installments.
The only thing I wondered if that's something we ought to delay another month till you get some more information, if anybody else, the state or anybody else is gonna step up to the plate or some further plans. Opinion, what do you think?
It's a good question. I don't think the project would move forward, but for state level involvement. So if the state doesn't come to the table and provide it's the same or better assistance, I'll probably be coming back to you in a month saying project went to, Connecticut or somewhere
Is
else.
a month gonna make or break the project?
Yeah, I mean, we need to see the local and state pieces come together. And so that's why I'm very cautious to say that this isn't the company saying they're coming here. It's just to see a commitment that if they do come here, that we'll be able to support in this fashion. But, I mean, the important message there is, the state would be involved at or better as far as their involvement.
So you basically need us to earmark that $100,000. The check isn't gonna be written until you have a lot more information.
Right. And
And the check's only gonna be written in 1/3.
Just dangling your carrot.
yes.
Is that correct, your motion?
That works for me.
And did he have a second?
Yes.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. Okay.
Thank you. And like I say, if I could real briefly, I mean, this is the first step, but we'll certainly work together. We gotta put together an agreement. We gotta see that the state get involved. We get the green light company's gonna come here. There's other steps before anything really comes together.
All right, thanks, Al.
Thank you.
You done, George?
2 more things.
Okay.
One thing, you had mentioned cell phones. Pam has actually been looking into our cell phone usage. She watches that every month. And what we're doing right now is we're looking at other communities or other counties to see what they're doing with cell phones. Trying to determine if there's a better way that we can operate with our cell phone usage. Because it gets to be a huge issue. We've got people that are using it, and I'm not sure it's completely all for county use. But we are watching that, and so Pam is really on top of that. And then also, we did have a junk and trash ordinance come before us, which we tabled for right now. It's trying to deal with areas that are over 20 acres that we have junk in, but we're trying to deal with farmers at the same time, and we're trying to make it feasible for the farmers. We know that they have a lot of equipment that they store outside that they don't have enough room for sheds, but yet we've got some areas that have got trash in them and junk that we need to deal with. It's over 20 acres, and so we're working with Dan Sigler right now to take care of that. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you.
George, has the commissioners ever followed up at all on this use of vehicles for personal use?
No. We really haven't. That's something
Well, when it comes to budget time and we start seeing requests for more in their fuel budgets, I'm gonna have some serious problems. This thing at $4 a gallon, I mean, it doesn't seem to go away.
Understand.
And we passed them days where we used to have 3 deputies, and that's the only ones that had cars, and gas was 40, 50, 60 cents a gallon. That day's gone.
Right.
Now we got a lot of vehicles, and we're trading vehicles all the time, it seems like, because we're getting too many miles on them. And I still think that's something that's got to be addressed. Like I said, no problem with the take-home part, it's after they get them home part that
Right,
I have
right.
concerns with.
It's so hard to control that is the problem. That's the
Well,
huge.
you just have to say, you're off duty, you don't drive them. That's just the way it is.
The only easy way to control that is just reimburse them for their own car usage.
Well,
Well,
but I'm saying, no, we got some we can't do that with. We can't do that with the sheriff's department. They gotta have a sheriff's vehicle.
Yeah, the sheriff's department, we've got the GPS tracking.
But I
We
can
know-
still continue to see them out in civilian clothes here and there, and I know they're driving them, and that's putting up miles on them. And not only that, it's burning a lot of fuel, and
And that
maybe
really
you've seen them,
can-
but I've never seen them pull up to a pump at a public station other than our own down there. Never.
Jim, that can be taken care of because with the GPS system that we have right now in each one of the cars, we can find out exactly where they've been, if they're on duty, if they're not on duty. We can pin, all we have to do is get somebody involved in that. And
They were.
yeah, but I think you were talking about some of the county employees.
Well, I was
Rather than
talking,
sheriff, or-
well, not necessarily. I don't see the highway guys out here and there, but I do see the sheriff's department people out all the time. But I don't see other guys out driving their vehicles on a weekend or, but you take, like last week, you know, the highway guys had to be out Saturday morning, some
Right,
of them.
they were.
Checking because, I mean, they just had to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, you know, I don't see them out and around other than when they're doing something. I know I saw Brian one time years ago on a Sunday morning, and they're not down stop signs here and there, and he was just out trying to locate that. Well, that was business.
Right.
But I've seen guys numerous times parked at the video place or here or there or wherever, and
Yeah, I just saw one the other day, can't remember where the heck I saw him, but he was civilian clothes and he was, I thought, you really shouldn't be doing that.
well, I run into him at different restaurants in town here where it sits out in front there.
Right. Does anybody have any more questions about the auditor's budget schedules? You got any more to add? We got, you gave us a sheet and it's on there.
Yeah, that's the schedule. I tried to keep as many meetings to the meeting of your normal meetings. And I think they all are, but the July 23rd meeting. The rest of it's just formality of first and second publications.
Appreciate getting those out plenty of time.
Form 1s are out to the department heads, so those will come back. If you do find your blue book, please turn it in. Somebody has 2 of them. If not, I'll just make new ones. And we'll have them and I'll pass them out at the July meeting. And the only thing on the Q cap rate, we have to make a note that we filed your adoption in the paper and we did not get anyone to come in my office to file a petition, so it's good to go. Finally, seems like we've been talking about that for 5 months.
Yes, we were.
Last year's budget.
So,
Anything else? Brandon? Attaboy, keep up the good work.
hold on, I got a couple more things.
Okay.
Don't forget your county council, state called meeting is Saturday, January 23rd in Plainfield, if you wanna go. And if you are on the state website, the ratio study for the county was approved, so we're with 55 other counties. Form 11s are gonna go out on time this year before the AVs get rolled to the auditor's office, so we will not have as many correction of errors going out.
Any other questions
Any other
of our
questions?
auditor?
Good job, Jen.
Yeah.
Keep up
All
the
right,
good work.
adjourned.
Sweet. Then this is for you.